Hello everyone! World of Warcraft put out the Ghost of Karesh launch trailer to accompany the release of the big next patch, Ghost of Karesh. However, there are some interesting frames sprinkled throughout the trailer, which might relate to how it's going to end. And, you know, since I already had people ask, like, hey, what's going on here? What's happening? Is this really true? I figured let's talk about it. It's only a 1 minute 30 seconds trailer, but still a couple of interesting things in there. Do be warned, spoilers ahead of course, and I would highly recommend to just check out the campaign and wait for the raid next week to then see what's happening, because we are talking about datamined stuff. But for those curious, the information is out there. Let's check out the trailer, shall we? So we start off with an Illyria on the ground, quite distressed as certain bits and pieces float around her in the background, right? And
sense that, Illyria.
There is the beautiful Dark Heart in the hands of the Ophidials. The Dark Heart has been stolen from Gallywix back in Undermine. It has then been taken to Karesh, and on Karesh we're going to try and stop the Dark Heart. We're trying to go and take it back, except the Ophidials won't let us, and it's going to play a critical part in the return of the Mencius the All-Devouring. So here we see it charging up, and as we know, the relic has the capability of sucking up a whole bunch of power, but also shooting it out. And the power that it sucks up, like the magic from Daladon for example, it turns into the void. Whereas, interestingly enough, the Rishi ribbons, our upcoming cloak, the legendary, the power that we're dealing with, that has the ability to also suck up magics and then turn it into the arcane. So this goes by really quickly, so we're going to go frame by frame, right? So they go over the history of the Dark Heart real quick. And as we go in, as it will go... Oh, I do need to spam the button. So this is Iridikron back in Dragonflight, the trailer that we saw as Iridikron took the trinkets, took it back in time to suck up the hunger of Galagrond, and then added like the devouring power to it. Also, a fun side note to consider is that the Dark Heart is a prototype to the Dragon Soul, and the Dragon Soul was crafted by Deathwing and the Goblins, which has us wonder, did Xal'atath play a part in manipulating Deathwing to make the Dragon Soul? If so, how long has she actually been planning and scheming in the background? Or is this more a situation of, you know, she knew about the Dark Heart since the Void had been messing with Deathwing anyways, she knew about the Old Gods' plans, and she's just making use of it? Both options go. And then the trailer goes on. Here again, they charge up this baby, they shoot it off, and then here we got a trailer back from Hollowfall. This was the end of the major leveling campaign, where Illyria goes into the chapel in Hollowfall and confronts Xal'atath. And Xal'atath does her bad guy speech about how great she is, and how she lured us here, and the blood of the old gods was going to empower the Dark Heart, was going to give her power. And then we stop that plan, as Illyria is able to shoot her arrow and actually damage the Dark Hearts, which is why Xal'atath is willing to work with us to begin with, because she tells us that her plans have been foiled. Now, that could still very much be true, except Xal'atath does have a really cool ability of turning things into her favor, right? And then here we saw the cutscene of the end of Undermine, where the Ophidials have taken the Dark Heart and they look over Karesh.
We've all heard it, old friend. The voice of our greatest fear.
You might recognize that voice. That is Venari, back from the Shadowlands, back from the Maw. They have established a connection between the Ophidials and the Brokers in Lore-Walker Cho's lore-walking storyline. And here we have a beautiful composition, in my opinion, between the Ecodome project that Venari is leading. Venari is working on restoring Karesh, and then they quickly flash over into what Karesh looks like today. I thought it was really cool. A really cool contrast. So the Dark Heart is releasing power, right?
Mencius is rising, Venari. And should he assume his full power? And should...
Again, it goes really quick. This is Mana Forge Omega. Again, they're doing the whole Dark Heart thing. This is outside. I think this is... I think this is one of the bosses that they just made a shot out of, with like half the raid wiped out, but it could also be just questing in the zone. I'm going to assume that is just Blizzard's character to look up and be like, oh, this was happening like an in-game cutscene where they put our character next to it. Again, back to the Omega raid where they're using the Dark Hearts. Haven't seen this play out either. But again, you know, power charging, right? And Dimensius do be coming. Then, the part where I was like, okay, I haven't seen this yet. And this sparked a memory in my mind as to, oh, hang on, are they actually showing us this? So let's take a look-see.
He will devour all that exists.
Alright, did you catch all that? Sorry. Let's go back. Here, let's go back. They do it more in a moment. Like, I lingered on this for like a good follow-up 5 minutes. So, in the background, what appears to be inside of the Omega raid, right? The texture looks similar to where they're like summoning Dimensius. And Illyria is wounded, it appears. She's hurt. And she grabs some kind of ribbon, some kind of wrapping. And the question, of course, becomes like, okay, what is happening there? This is something that we haven't seen on the PTR yet. This is something that you'll see during leveling, like they're wrapping Ethereals in order to make them serve Dimensius. I'm going to assume that's one of the bosses that we're dealing with. Again, another one of the Ethereals that's allied to Dimensius, and we need to take them out. This is from the trailer that they showed before. Which kind of supports my idea of, okay, they actually put it in the launch trailer. Because the PR for this patch has been wild, but I'll get back to that in a moment. But this is the moment where Illyria finds out, like, oh, Locus-Walker wants us to work together with Xal'atath. And they've actually shown this on the WoW pages already. As I'm hoping that YouTube is going to hold up and just, you know, zoom in, dragons to fight, Dimensius is slowly rising. They're showing us flashes of, okay, this is what's happening on Karesh, right? Things that you're going to do during the questing and the campaign. This is during Tazafesh. Guards in place. Brokers, of course, that connection. Bada bing, bada boom. And we're looking over a broken Karesh once more.
We are in danger. What is Xal'atath planning?
Windrunner. There are greater threats than Xal'atath.
And here we actually have like a shot at Dimensius in the flesh. Oh, sorry, wrong button. Here we have a shot at Dimensius in the flesh. For so far, from the PTR testing, we have not seen Dimensius in action. But here is a glimpse. As you can see in the fight, we are going to be using dragon riding. Or skywriting, as they call it these days. We have done a video going over some of the abilities that Dimensius is going to throw at us. The way they describe this fight is pretty epic. Like, we're throwing planets at each other, we're doing black holes, it's massive. And aim of the game originally is to try and stop Dimensius. That is part of the campaign, and we're fighting very hard. But of course, if you've kept up with any kind of the promotional material, then you knew that Dimensius was going to come back, right? Like, they weren't keeping the M-Boss a secret. But here's a little look, see what he can do with his spaghettifying death beam. And this guy is massive. Here's again another screen of Illyria holding on to ribbons, and she is quite distressed, and she's like, oh no, what happened here?
You broke my dark heart, Illyria. This is madness. No. Wait!
This is Sparta. So, again, quick flashes as to things that go down. We see a video on Void Dragons. The king will also have a beautiful Void Dragon to fight. Some of the enemies that you will fight on Tazafesh. So, Tazafesh? No, Tazafesh and Karesh. Let's keep the name straight, right? And then, as we fly further. So this whole purple state of being, by the way, this is the new mechanic. Our cloaks will allow us to dive into untethered space. We get to become similar to the Ethereals. We become energy. And we need to do this in order to even enter the Mana Forge. As you can tell, it is a big part of some of the raid mechanics as well. And it's part of, you know, even being in Dimensius' aura, Dimensius' presence. It won't end well unless you are similar to the Ethereals. So here, I think on the left, we have one of the bosses that is feeding Dimensius to make him come back. So I'm going to assume that this is like an in-game cutscene, and as we try to stop the boss from doing what they're doing, they eventually sacrifice themselves to finish the ritual, right? But here, we again have Illyria as she was just now. She was very distressed and very hurting, right? Still clutching her chests. And she is trying, as ribbons are falling down around her, so this is again in that similar moment, she's trying to get to Xal'atath. And as we see, Xal'atath has a dark heart in her possession. She's got the artifact back. If I remember right, in the death animation for Dimensius, it appears that he is sucked back into the Dark Heart. Or either way, such a powerful relic in the hands of Xal'atath is not a good thing to have. And despite Windrunner trying to grab her, trying to stop her, Xal'atath does what Xal'atath does, which is turn the situation into her favor. She has got exactly out of this what she needed. I do wonder then when this moment is. Also, I'm just noticing that she has a couple of fingers exposed. Okay. Interesting. Because this looks like the Void is assaulting her mind, and she's like, oh no, I can't handle this. I wonder if this is in the same room, because it does look like this is in the Dimensius room again. But let's listen what they say, actually.
This is madness. No. Wait!
So I'm going to assume that we're going to find a moment where there needs to be made a choice with the Locus-Walker. And Illyria is assaulted, and she's trying to stop the moment, she's trying to stop the Locus-Walker, and the Locus-Walker is like, nah. I'm going to grab this moment. I'm going to do it, and we will talk about what he does in just a moment. Because the way they cut it up is making it look like it's the Locus-Walker that brings in Dimensius, but I'm pretty sure that the Dungeon Journal already says who brings him in. But it does not mean that he can't play a part of the Dark Heart later, right? Defy the Void. Come play our game now. Okay, so why is this interesting? What kind of data mining stuff has been happening? Well, let me bring up the text for you, because this was out a while ago. So this was posted by Rapunzel in the Warcraft lore section quite a while ago. And like over a month ago, right? And it says, let's go over what it says. It says, Illyria, I'm not sure what to say. Locus-Walker was my mentor, my comrade, my friend. Since I first embraced the power of the Void, he was there helping me control and understand it. He alone supported me when my allies and family pushed me away. He saw what mattered in people, for good or ill. He was my dearest friend, but when he died, his past was with the Revel, the secrets of his ancient fight against Dimensius. I was so angry at him. I warned him. I did nothing but warn him about the path we walked down with Xal'atath. He wouldn't listen. She killed him because he trusted her, because he understood who she really was. So this is my oath. I will hunt Xal'atath down. I will find justice for Locus-Walker. I will prevent her from becoming the new all-devouring. To which Fanari says, Illyria, to make an oath on Karesh is no small thing. Are you prepared to take on such a vendetta? I am. I have seen the lengths you've gone to fulfill your oaths. I will avenge my friend for all the good he has done in his long life, even as I struggle to understand and forgive his evil. Then we wish all fortune on your hunt, Illyria. So the first time I read that dialogue, the datamined dialogue, I kind of wondered, like, is this really where we're going to go? Is this really the path it's going to take? But it will very much depend on implementation, let alone if it's even true, right? Like, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm seeing similar things happen in this trailer with the little cut pieces that I'm like, oh, that reminds me a lot of this datamined dialogue. I really wonder if that's going to connect to this. But I'm wondering about implementation. So what it seems to happen is that Locus-Walker gets blown up, be it by Xal'atath, be it by a sacrifice. According to the datamined information, it's betrayal by Xal'atath, big shocker. And Xal'atath walks away with the Dark Heart. Really surprised, honestly, that they put this in the launch trailer, not gonna lie. Because, again, even in accordance with the campaign, like even if you don't know anything about Karesh quite yet, you're gonna find out that the Dark Heart is not taken back in the leveling campaign, which means that it has to happen in the raid, which means that you now know what happens at the end of the raid. Okay. And honestly, the PR for this patch has been wild, in my opinion. So the other day, I was browsing on Instagram, and all of a sudden, the in-game trailer plays out, where Xal'atath is revealed to be Locus-Walker's ally. And the campaign, as you're going to find out, makes a big deal out of this. Like, this is a big shock, this is a big surprise, a big twist. And it's like, oh, you already put it on the internet a month in advance. And then they went on and were like, oh yeah, we're going to be fighting the Dimensions now. Which I don't blame. Like, you definitely want to promote the big M-boss. But again, the campaign supports a story in which you still try to stop him from coming back. So that is null and void as well. And now here in the trailer, we kind of get a taste of what might happen at the end of the raid. So what does happen at the end of the raid, if we assume it from this trailer, is Locus-Walker dead, blown up by Xal'atath? Is that because he was a big threat to her? Does he sacrifice himself? What happens there? Like, similar to the Khadgar situation, where Khadgar sacrificed himself for the sake of Illyria? Or is this going to be more in the sense of, haha, I got power, down you go, Locus-Walker? Either way, Locus-Walker gone, Xal'atath, Darkheart in her possession, again, similar to how we started at the War Within, except now it's even further powered up, presumably having the power of the Devourer within it, contained in her relic. And then the question becomes, like, okay, what does Xal'atath want to accomplish? Does she truly want to become a Devourer, as the datamined dialogue suggests? Is that her plan? Like, I'm going to be the next Void Lord, the next powerhouse, I'm going to go and snack on Azeroth? Or does she have something else in mind? And we really do not know enough about Xal'atath to make a fair stab in the dark. But it could be. Like, if Midnight is going to follow the same pattern as we saw on Karesh, like in the story of Karesh and the Devouring War, they made mention about how they were like a perpetual Midnight. And the red shirt guy, Ian Bates on Twitter, already made the smart connection, like, if that is in connection to the expansion, does that mean Azeroth is going to find itself in a perpetual darkness? Is the sky going to grow dark? Are we constantly going to have like a cloud over Azeroth? Or maybe even a world revamp? How sick would that be? But that is going to be revealed. And then Illyria making that promise. And on Karesh, for those who haven't seen anything of the story quite yet, on Karesh, if you make an oath, it's not just a promise that you can break. An oath is like you're sworn. If you don't fulfill it, you're going to be banished. But even further, in the King Xal'atath fight, you're going to realize that an oath, if you don't get rid of those, you will be mind controlled to his cause, and you will be forced to serve him. Very similar to like the Nephrius, where you had to get rid of your whatever he threw on you before he was going into the middle. Xal'atath does a similar thing. We need to get rid of those stacks. So Illyria making a promise is a big deal. But then I kind of wonder, like, okay, did she need more motivation to hunt down Xal'atath? In the campaign, she does not trust Xal'atath more than before. She was already hell-bent on bringing Xal'atath to justice. That doesn't really change anything. Like, okay, you were already promising to bring her to justice at the beginning of the War Within. Did you really need to reaffirm that? Maybe. And then another thing to consider is, how is that going to play out? Because we know that at least... Okay, so we know that for a next upcoming book written by Christy Golden, we know that Illyria is going to go on an adventure with Trevelyan and Adator, and they're going to be dealing with like the Burning Legion threats. So how does that relate to Illyria trying to hunt down Xal'atath? Per usual, all the more questions, and you know, we can wait one more week. We'll actually get like clarification on any and all of this. But yeah, seeing this trailer and also on the Discord, I was like, interesting that this was put in the launch trailer. Those little flashes. I'm curious if the datamined dialogue is going to be proven true. If so, then I'm most definitely going to keep a closer eye on that profile on Reddit. And yeah. Now the question on to you, team. What do you think? What do you think of the launch trailer so far? Are you playing Karesh? Are you having fun? Are you ready to face off at Dimensions and beyond? Gamescom is around the corner as well. The raid is about to drop. Cannot wait. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Until next time. See ya.